Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Today is June 18th, and we're doing government and social stories to start your week. And Wendell's back.
I made it.
With a little bit of an extra visitor, the con crud.
It's in my sinuses.
Any highlights?
The companies, like NVIDIA, is not bashful about spending money. And so there was more money at Computex than I have ever seen in my entire life. Like, everybody was making money hand over fist. It was crazy.
I'm imagining a scenario where they're just throwing cash out on the floor.
It was basically like that. And Jensen's, like, the NVIDIA keynote. I don't know if you guys saw it. You probably did if you watched this channel. It was just a victory lap, just NVIDIA victory lap. That's all it was.
Steve Holt.
Yeah.
It does feel like we're in a bit of a mania.
Yeah, there are signs that there are hiccups in the bubble, like little hiccups. Like, and the models really don't seem like they're getting that much better. It's weird.
Well, whether they get better or not, it's probably unlikely to change the balance of power, where NVIDIA is basically controlling the world. And as we've seen, when a company like OpenAI does bad things, nothing bad happens, except to the people that pointed it out. And so that behavior feels a little, I don't know, maybe criminal?
The FTC Chair Lina Khan tells TechCrunch the agency is pursuing the mob bosses in big tech. So this is a lot of words to just say the FTC can't go after every injustice. We're going to focus on the ones that are abusing their position the worst, which...
That's still a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we're in unprecedented times in history, I think, where a relatively small number of people have more opportunity to exploit the masses, all of us, than there has ever been. Like, directly and indirectly, like our data, but also our work. Like, the work that we do can be monetized in ways that was never possible historically. Like your McDonald's burger flipper, or the dude at Amazon wearing the little thing that tracks his wrist movements, training a robot. That's wild. It's wild times.
Well, if you feel like things are changing too rapidly, here's some comfort for you. Something that never changes and is just perpetual.
The ISPs asked the FCC for a tax on big tech to fund broadband networks and discounts. So the ISPs want companies that make stuff on the internet to pay for the internet, which is insane.
They've also been given so much money. Like, just over and over, they're given money. And why is it different this time?
This actually, like, if you really unpack what ISPs are doing here, this is a kind of grift that is pervasive through industrialized, high-tech society, and we, the citizens, tolerate it, and some of you people in our audience actually advocate for this kind of thing. It is wrong. Like, it actually upends the best ideals of capitalism.
But it makes some people a lot of money.
Yeah.
And another way that you can make a lot of money is to do business with someone that no one else will do business with. But sometimes that can have consequences.
U.S. sanctions PC cooling power supply company maker DeepCool. Oh, no! For selling products to Russia, fueling its war efforts in Ukraine. There's a lot in this ruling. This is a ruling not just against DeepCool's USA subsidiary, but also their Chinese-based company. And you got to stop doing business with them. Their U.S. operation is effectively shut down. This will probably negatively impact some YouTube channels that had taken sponsorships from DeepCool.
That's interesting. I don't know where I land on that one. I mean, you just tell them that they can't. I guess they could go to Russia and do business if they wanted to do it that way. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, I guess, if we took that attitude with those other major tech companies that Lina Khan was dealing with, that might work out.
It's like we caught Apple behaving completely sociopathically.
I think what this points out is that DeepCool is small enough to fail.
Yeah.
But Apple, not. So that makes you wonder where this is ultimately going to go.
4 more states join U.S. monopoly lawsuit against Apple. One of the aims here is to open up third-party platforms for third-party app stores, which again, to me, kind of wild. It's like, this is a computation device. I would like to run arbitrary programs on it. And Apple says no. Meanwhile, if you're an Israeli spy company, you can run all the arbitrary programs you want on your iPhone. It's perfectly fine.
Well, you probably do get permission first. Not just from Apple, but also the U.S. intelligence agencies. And online reviews, I feel, are no longer of any value, right?
No.
You look at
hardly.
them and you're like, I can't trust any of this. And one of the reasons you can't trust any of it is because just like Google, once you build the system, there will be a cottage industry for gaming the system. And as you try to reap more and more value from it, you make it worse and worse. And we get to this horrible state.
The Reuters headline is Yelp can sue reputation company for promising to suppress bad reviews. And this is because the reputation company will suppress bad reviews by flooding Yelp with lots of content. Yelp will happily take money to suppress your bad reviews, but Yelp is saying that because this company is creating the appearance that Yelp will take money for suppressing bad reviews, that hurts their reputation.
In their defense here, not Yelp, the other company, or in Yelp's defense, I'm sorry, this company did use the Yelp logo in their advertisement. So may have gotten away with it if they hadn't done that. And they specifically mentioned Yelp also in the advertisement.
This is sort of the Uno reverse card of companies behaving badly online, because I don't think that Yelp's policies for managing bad reviews, I would describe it as opportunistic.
I would describe it as extortion.
Yeah.
And that's kind of
Yeah.
what the other guys are doing.
So you're accusing us of extortionate behavior. And it's like, well,
I mean, if
And
the shoe fits.
turns out that's a tort. You can't say that.
But what you can do is leave your driver's license at home, at least if you're in New York, except not really.
Mobile driver's licenses are coming to New York State starting June 11th. Now, they say that you can hide whatever information is not relevant and you don't have to hand over your phone to do the scanning, but I think both of those things are lies and or misleading.
Hand an unlocked phone to a cop? Not even once, bro. And also, this is totally optional. Cops, businesses, whoever takes your ID doesn't have to accept digital IDs. So this really doesn't keep you from carrying anything. This is just data harvesting and dystopian horror.
I really hate how it's kind of expected that you do everything on your phone now. Like the other day I was trying to find a place to get my hair cut. And I was like, let me see if I can make an appointment online or see what days they have open. And it was like, they had a website and like a little portal and everything that I was looking at on my desktop. And then it was like, put in your phone number so we can text you. And I was like,
But
no.
Here's the thing, right? If you are a business with an active phone, how many times a day do you have to stop and answer it? And it's nobody. It's an arms race of misery for all of us. And maybe a little bit more misery for those same people in New York because they have these new rules, which, I don't know, I kind of felt like this might be social media company lobby groups. Did you guys get a vibe from that? I don't agree with it, but I don't disagree with it for these reasons.
New York's Safe for Kids Act is a lesson in how not to regulate the internet. So this is a pretty good summary of the state of things in California and New York, but also Florida and Texas, and it sort of breaks it down that way. It's like, here is the approach that the blue states are using, which is wrong, and here's the other approach the red states are using, which is wrong. But then also, it's really dark here because it's saying, well, you know who could save us from all this? Google. Google could verify your identity and your age. It's like, oh.
Can we just not do that?
Oh.
Who's getting a bunch of texts right now?
That's team spam. The thing that really threw up a red flag for me on this is that this author kept going back to, there's no proof that algorithms harm kids. And if you show it to them in, date order instead of algorithm order, they're just going to see more disinformation. And I was like, that feels like Mark Zuckerberg talking to me.
Yeah. I can see his hand up your ass right now.
So I don't know. I don't agree with that law necessarily, but I don't trust that article either. And Utah, I definitely don't trust their take on this one.
Utah is suing TikTok, alleging that their live feature is, quote unquote, a virtual strip club. Wow, Utah is really conservative, huh?
So did you get the impression that what they're arguing here is that, because you can pay directly, you can watch things live, and you can pay directly, and to them that's like a child could go online and dance for you.
I have some bad news about YouTube Live.
Or just Twitch.
Any social media.
We literally get a couple people every week that give us a few bucks, and it's just like, this is a thing. It's like, okay, cool, thank you. Thank you, Ray. Store it all.
Littletext.com. We should actually probably do a live stream soon, actually.
And or Patreon
YouTube.
and or Floatplay. So yeah, thank you very much. It funds our lavish lifestyle. Thank you.
And Canada,
Twitch
Canada.
also? Like, have they not seen Twitch?
Twitch. Yeah, that Twitch is
Yeah,
the
but
biggest
Twitch does clamp down hard on the risque stuff.
I mean, they.
Well, they make headlines about it. That's
Yeah.
kind of hard. That's right. But yes, in Canada, now this is a fine line, and it feels like if you try to make this decision yourself, it's not going to help you. Like a court is always going to have to weigh in here, right? Which is
Yes.
not ideal. But I guess this moves the needle a little back in the favor of the public.
The headline was a huge win for copyright user rights in Canada. Federal court rules digital lock rules do not trump fair dealing rules. I would revise this headline to say this is not the huge win that you think it is. This was a. We don't need to get into details, but this was an access control system that revolved around giving people passwords. There were some people that used their access to the system to use material that was copyrighted in a way that perhaps the original people didn't intend, but was probably a reasonable use of that material. And so they tried to argue, it was protected by a password. And the court just said, not necessarily. Like, you could have a protection mechanism, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it in a reasonable way. So this is a very, very, very minor victory for individuals.
Critically, who was at fault here for violating these copyrights? The Canadian government.
Yeah.
So when the Canadian government violates copyright, we got to be fair about this. When you violate copyright, you're an evil person.
Yeah, I feel like that it might have gone a somewhat different way.
And over in the EU, of course, we're hitting that part in the economic cycle where prices are coming down because demand seems to be not there because people can't even afford to feed themselves. So what do? Well, more political wrangling.
The CNBC headline is European Union announces even higher tariffs of up to 38% on Chinese electric vehicles. And this also is part of the reason why some of the industries in Germany have been negatively impacted, which we have a different story on later, but they just say bankruptcies are going on in Germany. But this whole...
They give some ideas of what industries are hitting it. Transportation was a big one.
Yeah.
And one of the things we're learning, we're not learning it, but maybe it's getting more press during hyperinflation, is how many industries do not price their products across the board. They price their products geographically. For example, the Delaware, was it Delaware, where the Big Mac was $18? Whereas here it's like $4. What could cause the discrepancy there? Well, it's just companies trying to milk as much money as they can out of a population.
What about orange juice in Alaska?
Well, that's a transportation cost. In this case, there is no transportation cost. It is a digital good.
Valve faces an $843 million lawsuit in the UK for allegedly overcharging 14 million gamers. I think this is not going to work out for the UK because they're no longer in the European Union. But some of the rules here are basically, it's like, hey, European Union members, it shouldn't be cheaper to buy a game in Moldova. Or as a Steam user, you should be entitled to buy a game in Moldova if it's cheaper in Moldova than it is in your home country because European Union. Is Moldova in the European Union? I think
It's not a huge fine that they're proposing, I don't think. So probably
it's almost $1 billion.
probably won't change anything. Oh, was it? I thought that was much smaller. I might be confusing that with another story.
That's
Oh, yeah,
close,
840.
yeah.
That was right there in the headline, wasn't it? And Fujitsu. Now let's do a quick recap of Fujitsu.
Fujitsu in the UK specifically.
Fujitsu was responsible for the post office issue. That was a big problem. And
A lot of postmasters were accused of stealing money. To
Jailed.
The point.
Jailed, yeah. Not just accused.
Some of them died as a result of this accusation.
And they had another crisis, didn't they?
Yes.
I can't remember what it was now.
Fujitsu was ultimately responsible for that. And when they were peeling back the linoleum, there were a lot of people that reported, like, hey, I did an audit on this, and it looks like your software has bugs. And Fujitsu was like, meh. So the Register has the headline, UK Education Department has awarded a contract to Uplift to Horizon, which is the scandal-plagued Fujitsu.
Importantly, after the scandal, some people were like, hey, maybe we put a pause on doing business with Fujitsu. But this is an education department that's like, well, we're not adding to the contract. We're modifying an existing contract and giving them more money and extending the time.
Because that worked out so well the first time.
Are there no software companies left in the UK that could do this work? Like, that's usually the punishment for this level of incompetence is somebody else gets the award.
The other people are so expensive.
How hard are those Fujitsu lobbyists working over there to keep this?
A lot of lunches and dinners.
Well, you can say that, those UK politicians are hopelessly corrupt if somehow, against all of that evidence that we should not do business with Fujitsu, we continue to. Could anything be better than that? Literally anything?
There's an AI candidate running for parliament in the UK, which this is more publicity stunt than reality. There's some dude that's running for parliament, and he's saying, I'm just going to use my AI avatar to do all the stuff.
It's kind of an interesting idea. It really shows how much image goes into politics. I like it as like a interactive theater art piece. I don't like what it means for our society.
Here's the thing. Steve Endicott is who this is based on. AI Steve is based on. He will be the physical presence of AI Steve if he is elected. He runs a company that happens to deal in AI.
Oh.
And he's getting quite the advertisement with all of these headlines, isn't he? That's what our political system has gotten to. Right?
Yeah.
Viral marketing. That's how you win, and that's how you abuse it, even if you don't plan on winning.
It was a snowball that started with Reagan, right? Or somebody else even before that.
Well, so one of my history professors once pointed out, like, after the invent of, like, the television, like, have we had a really bad-looking president since then?
I mean, Trump's no prize.
I mean, they're all getting older, certainly, but, like, you have to kind of play that, like, really charismatic game.
I think maybe Reagan, but I think maybe with Kennedy, because Kennedy was such a heartthrob.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, he got there that way. He got there because he was from a criminal family with a lot of connections. But I think a lot of people were like, oh, the people like this.
Yeah.
But will the people like this? Will they like to do this thing that's supposed to be good for the environment, and yet it seats one?
Flying taxis to be tested during the Paris Olympics, according to this minister.
One person.
Now, I'm pretty sure that I've seen stuntmen in YouTube videos where they just strap a lawn chair to one of those big drones, and it's just a chair. They're just...
It's just the plot of Danny Deck Chair.
I don't know if, 250-pound American tourists coming over to enjoy that would be able to do that the same way those YouTubers are. And over in Norway, a red letter day because all of the big rare earth discoveries have happened in China recently. I think we had one in Australia, right? But we always need more because we can't get enough of it.
Norway discovers Europe's largest deposit of rare earth metals, which Norway says is even more valuable than oil, which is actually probably true. And they are already figuring out how to get started mining it. Woo!
Russia, heavy breathing.
So we'll be able to get all of our metals for our hard drives, magnets, and that sort of thing from Norway soon, which is great. Just in time for 40 terabyte mechanical hard drives.
And moving over to Turkey, we have had a very, very ingenious student who unfortunately had a good plan, but wasn't able to pull it off. He needed to practice more, I think, before he went in for the real run.
Turkish student arrested for using AI to cheat in a university exam. I gotta say, we'd probably have less problems here in America if we got, it's like if they were cheating here, they would just be scolded and sent away, and they'd fail their exam.
So pretty ingenious. I don't know if he was the one who came up with it, but if he did, that's kind of a success in itself, right? Someone should hire him. Camera and the button on his shirt, reads the questions, router in his shoe, and an earpiece so AI could read him the answer.
I'm imagining, but like it's really loud, so it just bleeds out.
No, I think the way that they said he was acting erratically, so I think the way they got him is he was like trying to position the button. And over in China, we have our driverless cars, which we have a story about later. They're showing some warts. And by warts, I mean they're running into a lot of stuff. But China doesn't seem to be that worried.
China is testing more driverless cars than any other country because, yeah, if they crack that nut, they'll be able to take over the economic. Like, that'll just be a license to print money.
It seems like it's really easy. Government approval over there seems like really, really easy to get. They interviewed a street vendor who was like, he's on the side of the road, so maybe he would be concerned about that. And they were like, sir, are you worried about this? And he was like, well, if the government approved it, it should be fine, right? I was like, are you just saying that because you can't say anything else? I don't trust my government, and I think yours is a little more open about it. And, it's funny, we look back at that UK story, and it's like, what could we do about this Apple problem? And little Japan says, let us show you.
Japan's parliament has approved a law that will force third-party app stores on Apple and Google. Okay.
It's that simple.
Ah, who knew?
And unfortunately, you might look at this story and say, oh, in some parts of the world, these horrible things happen. Guess what, bro? Our intelligence agencies, which is what this is, they're doing the same thing, just at a much, much larger scale.
Bangladeshi police agents accused of selling citizens' personal information on Telegram. Basically, you just message them. It's like, hey, can you get me the info on Bob? Here's $15. And they say, here you go.
Okay. That'll buy my lunch today.
It's weird because, if the government has this database, it's going to be abused. But if the government didn't have the database, there wouldn't be any room for abuse. It's weird.
How are these guys going to get any extra money? And once again, we have an Asian nation that is putting our regulators to shame because they don't mess around with it. They're just like, okay, here's how it's going to be.
Well, Apple fined in South Korea for collecting users' data without consent.
The EU fines them all the time for the same thing.
Google also, but mysteriously absent from this, Samsung. How do you...
I can't imagine why.
Yeah, it's strange.
It's weird. All these Android phones were fined, including Samsung Galaxy devices. And it's weird because Samsung collects even more data than Google does on those same Android phones. It's weird.
Maybe the world leaders should get together and be like, listen, we're not going to tell anybody about this, but you find the ones from my country and I'll find the ones from your country. And then we'll keep them all honest.
My favorite thing about this, too, was that Apple was caught red-handed collecting information people asked not to collect. But even in the article, authors were like, it was really hard to track down what exactly they caught Apple collecting that they weren't supposed to collect. And it's it's all the advertising stuff.
Oh, yeah, we already know that question.
Yeah.
And Firefox,
Rip.
oh, they were our champion. What do you do in this situation, right?
This turned out to be a bit of a nothing burger, actually. This was updated.
I didn't read the update.
Firefox browser blocks anti-censorship add-ons at Russia's request. Somebody pointed out, it's like, hey, wait a minute, isn't this like why are you doing this? And Mozilla said, oh, right, yeah, we don't have to do this. And so they rolled it back.
Oh. So they got bad press and then rolled it back.
Yeah, well...
I guess that's kind of how it's supposed to work. If it's unpopular, you roll it back.
The other wild thing with this is that Google, like YouTube, is still taking stuff down. So, Google... why aren't we writing an article about, oh, yeah, these videos are all not available in Russia? And it's like, why do we care?
Yeah, but when China says it, they do that.
Yeah, Apple does that. Literally everybody.
I don't know if Firefox has done it before. They might have. Well, Brazil is leaning maybe a little too far into the AI craze. I think this is, I would definitely take a wait and see policy here.
Brazil hires OpenAI to cut the costs of its court battles. We reported on this the week that I left.
Did we?
We did.
This is June 11th.
This is maybe an update. Or maybe I'm remembering the future
I think
again.
you might be remembering they were using it to write laws.
Oh.
This is different. What they're doing here is apparently the Brazilian government is being sued into oblivion by its people. And they're losing a lot of them. And so they're trying to get the AI to go through and figure out where they should just settle to lose less money. And in doing so, they're partnering directly with OpenAI and giving all the Brazilian people's info to the training data.
Fabulous.
And this seems like good news.
It's not.
But
it's lies.
Yeah. Even if it's not a lie, it's not enough.
The Record.media reports that the data brokers that have all your driving records that we reported on a couple of times now have shut down to protect, the driver behavior pattern data. And I don't know this to be true, but I'm going to make a level 1 prediction. They haven't shut down. The data is far too valuable. They're going to retool. They're going to now sell that to law enforcement and other people under a very strict NDA for probably 10 to 25 times what they were charging just randos to buy it.
And then if they do get caught and criticized, they'll just be like, well, it was for safety.
Absolutely, that data is still leaving your vehicle. Absolutely, it is being collected somewhere.
Now, this was Verisk, but LexisNexis Risk Management still very much collecting it. And in fact, in the little press blurb in this, they were like, oh, yes, bring your business to us. Oh, you don't want to do business with Verisk anymore? Well, we'll take care of you. But as you point out, much like this used to be the kind of thing that law enforcement had to do. And then there were these little workarounds. And there will always be another little workaround.
Your driving could be monitored by popular apps. Gas Buddy, My Radar, and Life 360 could be selling your telematics. Oh, look at that. We got a new word to auto insurance companies.
Could be. Absolutely are.
Yes.
I don't know if we have proof of that, but I certainly suspect it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these apps that, like, oh, it's so nice that I can find out where the gas is the cheapest. Well, you're probably all that money you're saving on gas, you're spending on insurance premiums because you're an aggressive driver. And now they know. And here's a terrifying tale of a company who knew there was a problem and, as usual, told no one.
China state hackers have infected 20,000 Fortinet VPNs, the Dutch spy service says. Yeah, this is bad. This is almost as bad as, a U.S. government-funded institution deploying deliberately weakened encryption schemes, which ultimately led to the same kinds of things.
Do you think there was any maliciousness here, or is it just trying to CYA?
Well, I think the maliciousness was on the part of China, but
from Fortinet.
I think that it's a sin of omission. Like, they knew they should have taken more steps to deal with it. But also, like, when things like solar winds are happening and like our intelligence services are aware that things like the solar winds hack are happening, which there's not a lot of evidence that has emerged yet of that we had like early warnings on this. But if our organizations do have early warning on that and they don't act and they don't get involved quickly, that is a cardinal sin.
Now here at Level 1, we always encourage, roll your own, self-host. Don't trust, the big conglomerates. Here's one situation where maybe you shouldn't do that. The rare exception.
Two cuffed over suspected a smishing campaign using text message blaster. This was thousands of dodgy text messages sent by, third-party services. Not great.
Imagine someone like 20, 25 years ago reading that headline and just being like, what?
I think pretty much every headline in this thing would give an Amish person a heart attack.
What does any of that mean?
And the gray lady has had a bit of incontinence. She's lost something.
New York Times source code stolen using exposed GitHub token.
Let me tell you what the most important part of this story is. Wordle has been stolen.
The source code. It already been cloned how many times?
Yeah, but
they come after it
they
really
paid like $1
aggressively.
million for Wordle too.
Some of this stuff is encrypted, but most of it not. And it was a massive amount, like hundreds of gigs, 270 gigabytes.
Also, it's hilarious to me that this article has a screenshot from 4chan in it.
In the Hacker News link for this story, there was a link to somebody else had accidentally uploaded, or they made their GitHub repository private, which had a token in it for, I think, one of their Ethereum wallets. That had been a private repo. They accidentally made it public for like 12 seconds. And within 2 minutes, the Ethereum token was used to pull all the funds from that wallet.
There's AI.
Yeah.
AI's watching at all times. That's our entire future.
Yeah.
Anything that you put out there for a millisecond, AI is going to be like, I want that. And our future is also going to be constant vigilance and paranoia when it comes to installing any kind of extension on anything.
Malicious Visual Studio Code extensions with millions of downloads installed and it's malicious. This was just a theme. This was like the Dracula theme, Dracula color theme for VS Code.
Oh, if you just wanted to be gothic, you can.
I want to try it because they point out that it's really popular because it's like high contrast.
Yeah.
But what you want to try is Dracula theme, not Darkula theme.
Oh, okay.
Because Darkula theme actually isn't that bad. It's a security researcher that put that out there just to test how many people would fall for it. Turns out a lot.
Turns out no one is looking at any of these things. See also PyPy. See also NPM. See also literally every package repository that exists. See also the Snap stores. And see also just why. Like, you can use AI to crank out this stuff maliciously.
There's so many
faster.
references in this article.
It's crazy.
And here's another one where we must ask ourselves, when we look at this, it's not super obvious, but could a very smart person have done this on purpose?
Yeah.
But nefariously, or could a very dumb person, not even a very dumb person, I'm not going to pretend I could do this better. I would probably make the same kind of mistake here, but could someone, was it maliciousness or was it incompetence? Which is scarier?
Researcher finds vulnerability in Kyber post-quantum key encapsulation mechanism. It's good that this was found now, in contrast to the dual elliptic curve debacle, which that's on the bingo card, I do believe, but also is what I was alluding to in the Fortinet thing, and also when I talk about the OPM hack being self-inflicted, that's what I mean. What Ryan's talking about, if this had not been discovered now, we could have had something like the OPM hack, and then at that point I would be saying, oh, that was totally self-inflicted. Is there more stuff in this, like the Kyber post-quantum key? Like,
I kind of feel like there is.
Seems like there would have to be.
If I was going to do that, I would at least have 5 different points of failure, right?
Yeah.
Because I know that one of them is going to get caught at least. And, you got also the other thing that you have to be careful about is your revenge. You don't want to do the revenge bad videos anymore. That'll send you straight to jail. And when you're done with the company, you need to just walk away. You need to let it go.
A disgruntled ex-employee at a Singaporean IT firm caused carnage after deleting over 180 servers.
Talk about burning a bridge.
Yeah.
I love how when they put the audit together, he didn't do it all at once. He would log in and he would test his scripts one server at a time and then restore them and make sure it worked. And then one day he did them all in an unrecoverable fashion. It cost him about, what it says, like $1 billion, right? Oh, no, $678,000.
Still a lot of money.
Oh, no, $918,000. I was still way off. And this one sounds scary, but really, you got to put some common sense into your two-factor authentication. But here's a warning.
The headline is hackers are using one-time password bots to bypass two-factor authentication. The reality is that there was not enough words to explain the headline, which is hackers are using AI chatbots to harass you into giving them the one-time passwords that were sent to you. So basically they compromise your account and then they use AI to try to get the one-time password from you.
The AI calls you with a voice and says, oh, I saw that you're having trouble here. We've just sent you a one-time code. Go ahead and give me that and I can help you. And then you give it to them and then they two-factor instead of you. And if you are going to be enjoying some racing, British Grand Prix, you might want to look out. They said that these areas would be flagged, but I don't think you can get in without walking through a flagged area.
Facial recognition to be used at Silverstone again because this is the second year in a row, and it's going to keep the rabble out, I suppose.
If I'm the rabble, I probably don't care that much, right? I guess they can catch you later.
Well, if you have any kind of warrant. A lot of people don't know when they have warrants.
Or you look like someone that has a warrant.
Yeah, you're vaguely similar.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. You look like someone who has a warrant and you don't have your digital ID on your phone when you go.
You lost your phone, yeah.
And finally, the whole idea of everything being under surveillance, it's like at this point, we're just dreaming up new places to put cameras. Where can we stick yet another camera?
Workers at TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, etc. are wearing body cameras. Here's what shoppers need to know.
What I want to know is, what do they expect their minimum wage workers to do here?
Well, I think the idea here isn't so much expecting the workers to do anything except just to be mobile cameras, right?
Yeah.
Because they'll have an AI system watching it.
I think it'll also be easier to get shoplifting prosecutions as well, because it's like, look, here's the body camera where we saw them doing the thing.
There's like 30 people at the checkout, but like the employees just following around like with the camera trying to see if someone's shoplifting, playing undercover cop.
A lot of the detractors here pointed out, it's like, you have so many cameras already.
Yeah, and has that helped that much? Like,
I noticed the local Meijer, they're doing a big refurb right now. They're like overhauling everything in the store. And the concentration of cameras, it's like every 6 feet in a grid along the ceiling. It's amazing. So they literally have every angle in that store covered.
There are the wild thing about that is that it's not even shoplifting or anything like that. It is some of the brands like Kellogg's and Unilever, Johnson & Johnson. They want the customer sentiment. They want the facial expression of the person when they pick up the product, and they are willing to pay for that.
so that means I just have to pretend to be delighted by everything, right? Like just really excited. A box of Kellogg's. I should fall to my knees and start crying in the middle of the store.
Just weep openly.
Actually, that would be amazing. Level 1 should do a video on like how we pollute the data stream, and it's like, here's what you need to do. You need to wear these facial inserts, and like it's going to contort your face, and so everything is going to be like pirate mode when you pick up a product. And it's like, oh, why is this person in pirate mode?
What a horrible dystopian we live in.
That would be amazing. What are you talking about? You can get customer sentiment. It's like, oh, they're noticing. They noticed we shrinkflated the peanut butter. Quick, we need to switch out for a different peanut butter jar shape so they don't notice the shrinkflation as much.
You just, like, randomly as you're shopping, pick up one item and scream and throw it on the ground.
I mean, normal people in society are not prepared for the level of adversary they're facing in just daily life.
I
Like,
thought you were just going to say ads, and I was like, also true.
it's like, I just want to order a Big Mac from McDonald's, and it's just like this billion-dollar machine is bearing down on you with all the little subtle manipulation they can possibly squeeze out of the situation.
You pull up to the drive-thru, it's like, yeah, I'll take a Big Mac. How much money do you have?
We already know.
I do consider it kind of like a superpower sometimes to be able to go into a store and not buy anything. Because like everything is trying to get you to buy something.
That would be another way that you could game that system, is like every item you pick up, just like shake your head and put it back.
Put it back, yeah. And then walk out without nothing. It's like, why?
Then that whole shopping trip counts as like prices are too high.
Yeah.
You know, it could be just another year or two where when those systems detect somebody as shoplifting, like the drones come out and just hover over them with like a little red spinny light to be like,
Stop, thief.
yeah, it's just like danger, danger.
Why stop at that? Because you're going to have those humanoid robots in 2 or 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So just
dispatch
kill them
one
right
of
on the spot.
Wrangle them down.
I mean,
Unalive them.
There's nothing more that I would love to see in Lowe's than one of those, robots like just hovering over somebody and he's like throwing the loose power tools or the boxes of nails at it to try to get it to stop. Just
Lowe's definitely has the ceiling clearance for that.
yeah. Wild times.
That's a snapshot of our future. We'll be back later this week with more stories.
I mean, as individuals get the squeeze from the inflation and lack of wage increase, that's gonna happen. Unless we just have like full-on collapse before then.
I don't think they'll allow that. Mm-mm. That would mean that we overthrow and get rid of them.
All right, we're going to cut off before we get in trouble and demonetized worse than we already are, because I think I already said ask.
Store.level1text.com.
Bye!